question.
Can you hear?
Yeah.
So Lord Krishna, right? We see how powerful he was. He could lift mountains and take everybody. But it seems like, he tried to convince Duryodhana, but whether he could not or it seems a little ironical that he couldn't convince somebody that, this is a wasteful effort. And then I was thinking about it, maybe this whole thing is a setup to kind of teach the next generation. But it's like, how can a god not be able to do something 3 times event?
Okay, so the question is, I assume they could hear, right? You could hear the question online? Yeah. Okay, perfect. So listen, in both your options, perhaps it's for the next generation, or it's ironical that he couldn't convince. In both options, he sees purpose and doing, karta. God in its creation has no intention of purpose and meaning and right and wrong. Do you understand what I'm saying? Are we all hearing clearly? If you can kind of see it as the will of Paramatma, Brahman, consciousness, is simply to play, to exist. And Krishna is a representation of that Param Shakti, Param Atma, the Lord, that divine force which is playing. He's not trying to convince. And that doesn't mean he's playing knowing the results half-heartedly. That's not it. Like when we play with kids, we play for fun. And we don't play fully sometimes, correct? Just to make sure the child wins. That's not what Krishna's doing, seemingly. Because Gurudev said in the first video, the divine is neutral, at least apparently. Then he throws that line in after, correct? He's neutral. He's just doing what needs to be done in this play, in this lila. It's not convinced or not convinced. He's not going to twitch his magic eyebrows, third eye, and disappear. And Arjun suddenly does, like how in the Matrix or in Dune, they do something and then people reveal. Remember? Did you see Dune? The mother and the son have this power where people say what they want them to say. It's not like that. He's not doing, because if he did, he becomes one of us. It's the small mind that is attached towards a specific direction. The moment you are attached, it's a subtle sign of me and mine. That means there are some who are other. Yes? Seemingly, Krishna Bhagavan has not taken side. Seemingly. So it's neither one. Question.
So Didi, as I was looking at this, isn't this always about choosing some dharma? Like everybody is playing some dharma, is either a putra dharma or a father dharma. How do we know in a given situation which is the highest dharma to pick the side? Because that's the conflict many times in the life, right? Either I'm toward my wife, for example, or to my mother, or work or kid.
Okay, so this was something, remember when I was telling the whole thing about Bhishma and I said, okay, this is getting very big, but let me pause. So Nandan and I were talking somehow when we were driving yesterday from to fro, about how this is all about me and mine, and how Bhishma is caught up in holding up his vow potentially. And from there it went into Rama and King Dasrath, and how he has given a vow to Kunti. Remember that whole story? Okay, I have to say the story, right? So you have to be patient because there are people who don't know. In the Ramayana, another part of history, not Krishna, but now another part of history, there's a king, Dasrath. He has a wife. He has more than one wife, but now we're talking about this one particular wife, Kunti. Kaikai. She helped him out during a war. It's a big story how she helps him out. We'll leave that aside. With this one finger, she managed to change the results of a war. But anyway, she helped Dasratha. Kaikai, the wife, helped out the king. And as a result, the king says, "Oh, my dear wife, what have you done? How amazing. You ask whatever you want, and I will grant you that wish." She's been given a wish of anything she wants. So first and foremost, that's hugely, conscious or not, a problem, She's so smart, she says, "I'll save it till later." This isn't the moment to ask. I'll hold off. And there are what, 3 wives or 4? 3 wives. There are 3 wives. And she's not the top wife, meaning the first one. You see where this is going? She's the 3rd wife. And she has children. This is a little bit like, the fisherman and the wife, a little bit like that. So she said she'll save it, and she does save it. And at some point, when it's time to take the eldest son and give him the throne, she says, "I want my son to be the king, and the elder son should go 14 years of exile in the forest." That's what she calls in. That is the wish she calls in at the appropriate time. I want my son. Again, it's the me, my stuff, right? My son should become the king. The eldest son, who is supposed to be the king, the rightful person to be the king, should be 14 years in exile. And the conversation or the question is, what happened here? What would Sanjaya, what would the Lord, what would be the bigger picture? So I have no correct answers, right or wrong, but I could hypothesize. And my response or our discussion was, well, what he had to do, what Dashrath had to do is he had to answer for the greater good, right? When you are a king, you do take commitments and vows that say, kingdom first. Do we not? That is the rule. Father, son, daughter, uncle, aunt, whatever it is, that is all secondary. Are you clear? For those of you who particularly don't know the story, am I clear? Yes? The response is that, yes. As a husband, he owed Kaikai something. As a king, he did not. And what he gives as a husband is very different from what he would give as a king. The king has to say, by doing this, sending Rama, his elder son, off to exile, and by putting the youngest Bharat there, am I doing what is best for the kingdom as a king? Had he answered that question, he would say no. Correct? If he answers as a husband and forgets his priority of a king, we have chaos. He answers as a husband and a man more than a husband. No, I gave my word, I cannot back out, so now, okay, I will give. I'm saying that our small mind is the challenge here. No one is enlightened in any of these stories other than the one who's enlightened, Rama and Lord Krishna. And everyone else is walking a journey. And what we are to do, if we can, is to extract how we are relating to them and what is the message for us. So we get our roles confused at home. Yes or no? If what is his name again? Dasrath. If he would have answered, he could have said, you are entitled to whatever it is you want. You must ask the husband. What can the husband give? The king cannot give that. The husband cannot give what the king can give. He would have been in alignment and it would have been clear. You're standing for dharma. It's not that he's willingly and intentionally going in that direction. It's that we don't have awareness. He at that moment is not fully aware either. Right? He's not fully aware that there are multiple roles. He's also a father. The father, Kaikai cannot ask this thing of. Correct? And the father would have to deny it. No, my eldest son is as important to me as my youngest son. But as the king, I have to give it to my eldest son. Conflict over? 14 years gone, Ramayana would have been a different story. Right? We are one being playing many, many roles. You are a man or a woman or a person or an individual or a they, however you want to look at it, one. Correct? But then what happens? We interplay, we're not clear. We interact and relate with each other from different roles. And yesterday, the same conversation came up at our satsang in Berkeley. And I think I alluded to it yesterday as well in here. Who are you? Where are you? When are you? You have to ask this question in relation to who needs to show up at that given moment. Then it'll be an easy thing, simpler thing, maybe I could say. Do you see what I'm saying to you? It would be just like Bhishma. If he would answer from one hat versus another hat, the whole equation changes. So what we often do, I'm a sister, I go to my sibling who's a year younger or a year older, and I act like a mother. Yes? You can't do this, you should be doing this, why don't you take care of that? And then what happens? Conflict. Because I'm stripping away the identity of the other also. In taking on a role that I am not to that interaction, I'm stripping their identity. They don't realize it, they don't say it, but the ego takes a kick. And then subtlety of conflict happens, distance happens. The brother-sister relationship gets a little strain, a little distance. We go through it because we're family, blood, blah, blah. We keep going. But the richness of the love, emotional or otherwise, the depth of the connection gets a little strained. And over a lifetime, then you kind of go through the motions of being siblings. It's just an example. Yes? This happens with couples. Instead of being partnerships, what do? We become experts or bosses. No? Yes or no? Okay. Yes? It's not that you wouldn't guide or you wouldn't suggest or anything. It's the tone, the flavor. The boss takes one role and one flavor, and a partner takes another role and another flavor. A team member versus a boss, there's a different way of communicating exactly the same thing. And you communicate what you feel, what your intention is. You should, would, could, would be very different in a partnership. But if you're father and a young son or daughter, you communicate differently. The moment that son or daughter gets to be a certain age, you have to change the relationship of father-son. You have to see your son as a person that's a son versus a son, period. And the son or daughter has to see the parent as an individual, adult person, not my mom, my dad. If you keep saying my mom, my dad, you keep doing the same thing that you did as a child unconsciously. And then we demand and we advise and we guide and all these sort of things. That's where it gets lost. Do you see? So if you're sitting here, who is sitting here right now? Potentially a student, because the moment you ask me a question, you have put me in the position of being a teacher, a guide, whatever you want, a mentor, whatever you want to say, correct? But if you're sitting there only debating, waiting to make your point, are you a student? Who are we at that moment? But who? What's your role? Debater. You just want to have an opponent now. In the student teacher relationship, it's ikta. This is why we say upanayan, sitting close. But the moment you keep debating, it's not that you should not discuss and have a different opinion. Remember yesterday that question was asked? It's that you're debating, already trying to prove your rightness. Now we're opponents. We're in a boxing ring. We are no longer student teacher. It's some other role. You will have conflict. You are not 100%. We're not present. Do you see this? If you're sitting here, oh, this is really good. I could use this in my book. Who are you? Who is sitting here? Author. You're this discord there. Oh, this is very good. I'm gonna, use it in my next course or when I teach Bhagavad Gita. Who are you? Teacher. There's a discord. Discord only in the sense that the mind is not present. What the universe wants to potentially provide to you is kept at bay. You see? Okay. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay, you had a question or a comment. No? You raised your hand several times.
That was long.
Oh, well.
That was the
Hold on, you can take the microphone. Yeah.
So my observation was that when Arjun says to Bhagwan, please take me to the middle of the battlefield where I can see the two. So he's the only one who has stepped away from me and mine.
Well, he hasn't yet.
Well,
He hasn't yet. All he knows is his statement is, I want to see clearly who I'm going to be fighting. So he hasn't yet. He might, but the question is, why did he ask for that in that crisis? That was the question. See? Why would, it's like you're on the operating table and you say, doctor, I want to see my reports. They're already saying count backwards from 10 to 1. The anesthesia is going in and you say, doc, I want to really see if I need this surgery. Yes or no? It's that close. What makes that come up? Because the Gita had to come up. See? Because the divine was moving her. And Arjun has to go towards letting go of me and mine. Arjun has to evolve. It is his time. The universe is opening the door for him to move further forward towards Sanjaya or towards God, awareness, or letting go. Correct? So it's beginning now. Okay, hold on. There's somebody online who has their hand up. I cannot read the name. Pramod?
Neeta Gupta. You can unmute yourself.
Nita
Okay.
Gupta,
Yes.
you
Hi.
can unmute.
Yeah. Hi, Didi. Jai Gurudev. I wanted to ask you, which Bhagavad Gita book are you referring to when you're saying the verses and you're going through
We are
that?
reading the Gorak. Yeah, it's a good idea. Thank you for that question.
Right.
Anyone? Okay.
Which
Pramod,
what is
please
it
tell
called?
them.
Sorry. What is it called?
If you wait, we'll give you an answer.
Sure. Sorry.
Gita Press. It's the Bhagavad Gita by Gita Press. I will put it in the chat. The link.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate
Yes.
this. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev. Okay. You want more questions? Anybody has? You had something, yeah.
I just had a thought or comment on the same point when Arjuna went in the middle. It's like the both side of conscious are blown, so they are all ready to destroy each other. But he goes in the middle, so he has that faith that he's going to be like safe. So that at least in my mind, it's like you are ready to kill each other, but and at that point he takes the risk of going in the middle and has faith that he'll be safe. So that just stuck to me.
Maybe he could. I don't know. But when we read a little further, we see how short-lived that faith is. You know, you can hypothesize, but the Gita builds one step at a time, and we know that it's no longer about faith. In all of 30 seconds, the bow is down. You see? Yeah.
I think I just have a comment. I understood the problem I have when I do manana. It's difficult to see beyond the lens of like good and bad. Like there's a lot of blame that comes with self-reflection, and I don't want to see that part of me. So I think that's kind of why I've been shying away from self-reflection.
I understand. It's a common thing. Arjun will have the same issue. He will not want to see what's going on for him for 700 verses. But we are fortunate, no? With his infinite amount of patience, keeps providing different ways so that we look just like Arjun. You know? So, unmute. I don't hear you, Watson.
Oh, okay, thank you. Just a comment, Didi, since we are at the end. I was reminded like how much Gurudev imparts knowledge, and then what have you learned, and then many a time, even after so much, we still kind of are at the same place many a time. Just the comment was, Gurudev has not mentioned this, there's something called Anugita. Many years later, Krishna asks Arjuna, hey, what did you learn about all that I taught you? And Arjuna is not sure. So then again, Krishna goes through and gives a 34 chapter knowledge. Just wanted to pass that on.
Yeah, third time. First in the battlefield, then Abhimanyu, and then this third time. You know, so we've spent lifetimes perhaps hearing "I belong to you, I belong to you." But you know, there's a certain degree of freedom that comes in that, and what you said, right, Priyanka, that it's very hard not to blame myself. But when you again and again see that this is how it is, then at some point, whatever you discover about yourself, you put a state of wonder to it. Amazing. Like I just realized, like that thing, you know. Don't you see, we've spent 2.5 hours together between yesterday and today on this, correct? It's not that you fixed anything, did you? It's not that I fixed anything, but that certain degree of aha resonates in our body. It resonates somewhere in the mind. You know, instead of remembering this is good, this is bad, there's a memory of something else in our system. And again and again and again and again, when that footprint resonates, radiation happens, if you want, mutation happens. It's energy. This oho that we have heard in Ashtavakra is enormous power, energy. It's a type of transcendence, you know, type of going deeply into that, oh my goodness, wow. That wow, we might say, what he calls oho, is a lot of Shakti. It's radiation. It burns something that is impure, the vasana, in our cellular, physical, emotional, mental structure. Can you understand that? This is the effortlessness of learning. And when you have a guru, when we're coming from that place and devotion and faith and trust that I'm here in the right moment, in the middle of the war, I've come, right? Just realize we are all here. There's war going on. And we've somehow asked ourselves, why don't I go in the middle and see exactly what this is about? And that, oh, changes something over time. It becomes at one point the elephant's footprint. Are you getting me? Then so relax. Don't like try so hard and judge yourself and good and bad and I got and I not. No, just be here, participate, listen, be a willing student. That's all. Let me be a part of that journey with you and reciprocate together, and then something happens. Something sticks. It does stick. Okay, tomorrow I'll be gone and we won't meet until Tuesday, March 19th. Maybe you'll forget a little. Maybe it'll go back in the distance, but you will not lose it altogether. Isn't it? Like brushing our teeth, it took some time, again. Right? All right.
Sanjana has a...
Sanjana, go ahead. You take that over and you ask the question till then.
Yeah, so this is more of a reflection / comment. I've been pondering on what you talked about, wanting to be perceived as righteous or having had a history of being righteous. So there's this kind of a cage around you where people are expecting you to behave a particular way. Is also an area for others to control us. In the case of Dashratha and Kaikeyi, it's like she recognized that Dashratha is so... It's important to him to be perceived as a king who keeps his word. So she recognized that as an opportunity. So it's almost like this wanting to be perceived a particular way as a golden cage. I think Gurudev uses that phrase, which is what's coming back to me. So I'm wondering, is it easier to be, I want to be perceived as a bad guy, so I have the freedom to be good and bad, because it's almost easier to be perceived as not good. Or how do you transcend?
Yes. I'm not sure what you said. If you don't have to worry about your image. Look, I mean, I don't know. If you assume Kaikai figured out, Dashrath has a little... Wives figure these things out about their... Oh, I know when to ask for the credit card, When he forgets my birthday, I get to ask for double. They figured these things out, So maybe she figured it out. Then in that case, both won. You see what I'm saying? She got what she wanted and he got what he wanted. But we're talking about moving beyond that. Others' expectation and others' control. You have a choice, give in or not. What I've discovered is the more, you get free. Once they figure out this one is a lost case and doesn't really, okay, expectations reduce. And then you just get to be you. So it's always a choice. One more from there and then I come. Go ahead.
Mamta?
I cannot see the name, but...
Yes. Jai Gurudev, Didi, this is Mamta. Yes. Didi, I have a question. That what made a divine Lord Krishna participate in the war? Like he giving his Sena to Kauravas and he was himself present with Pandavas. What made divine participate in a war?
Well, he was not divine in that moment. His internal state is divine, but he's a king with a kingdom, and he's the cousin or whatever of the Pandus and the Kauravas, so it's a family thing. He's part of that family. You see, it's exactly what I said. Who was playing in the war? He's the Lord, but he's also the king. he has his own Mathura, right? He's a king of Mathura and he is an army and he's related to the Pandus and Kunti and so on. And Arjun is married to his sister. He has to show up, you know, there's all these duties and responsibilities. But also remember, he was there and he was asked. He didn't say, I want to be in this thing. He was asked, right? Arjun and Duryodhan asked, each went, like we do. Listen, I'm having a wedding, will you come? Listen, I'm against so-and-so, will you join me? We do this. Yes or no? Have you seen that teacher, you know, blah, blah? I don't think I'm going. And okay, I won't go also, you're right. Isn't it? He was asked. And the third thing to remember is he said, you have a choice. He let them choose what they want, but I will not fight. Remember that. That is his neutrality. You know, I will be there. You get to choose. It's me or my army. If you choose me, I will not pick up any weapons. Yeah. Yes.
So a comment, some of us who know the story, we've already picked sides. Like this is the right side, this is the wrong side. But so beautifully, even yesterday and today, you've taught us that having preconceived notions, a lot of times when we think this group is right, we ignore the wrong over there, or the other, vice versa.
Correct. Yes. You see, like when people like, I don't know, Einstein and these people, when they read the story, they did not know the story. They didn't know the end result. Like before we even know the story, we even know the end result, isn't it? And then we know bits and pieces of the story. And we're not raised by just hearing the story. We're raised with a bias towards the story. I'm not saying one is good, but I'm not saying that. I'm saying exactly what Vivek said, which is we have preconceived, we've leaned already. So we're not looking with the widest angle. When we already have a conclusion is when we lack clarity and the widest vision. Then we cannot see with the cruising altitude. That's the whole point here. Then you're operating from the conditioned response again. Right? So why we're breaking this down this way? Because in a little while, it's going to look like Arjun was convinced to go fight. Yes or no? Yes. And if you don't know where the story is and what's happening, you'll be like, oh my God, what kind of a figure of Lord and mentorship do you have in your history? He convinced this man to do a huge global war type situation. What is that? So you have to really look, because that's not what happened. No, that we get into in our next session. You see? It's a very huge share what you're saying, and it's a very huge awareness and learning quote point for us, all of us. Yeah. Okay, so here's what we'll do. There are 2 more hands up online. Let's take those 2 questions and we can end.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Hi, Rajshree. I had a question about doership. You've given many examples on what is considered doership. Primarily, I see it as operating out of ego or past impressions. Is there a guideline on how not to be a doer? Or is it just simply that we recognize all the ways of how we're being a doer and be aware of it, and eventually we figure out that, oh, okay, now that I'm not a doer, or I'm not caught up in doership in all its versions and variations, I now get to experience how not to be a doer. I don't know, from a practical application in life standpoint.
Yeah, I think it's a very difficult question, because the answer in itself enhances doership. How do I not be a doer? Who will do that? I will do that. I think the trick here, in my thought, is that to remind ourselves, no matter what is happening, up or down, there is another power at play, and that's enough. That's enough, not to fix the internal mechanism of how I think and process and act. That is strain on the system. Now you're trying to latch on to what I know and what I don't know, and is it right and is it wrong? What if I make a mistake? That takes us down the rabbit hole. So just enough again and again to remind ourselves there's a higher power at play. I do the best I can. In remembering that, or in letting go of that, or in surrendering to that. And it's not easy. Again, I remind you, it's not easy. Why is it not easy? Look, Arjun is having 700 verses. It's only at the end Lord Krishna says, oh my God, I said what I had to say. You're exhausting me. You do what you want. Correct? You do what you want. Actually, very upfront, Lord Krishna says, but it doesn't register. Okay? So don't go into like, I gotta fix it and I'm gonna, just this sense, every day that ends, a life is over. A day and a life is over. And every day that you wake up, a day and a life has begun. And then you go into this gratitude that, okay, there's a new day. I'm still here. Oh, look, I look around, whoever they are, however they are, there's no phone call that says anybody I know has gone off the planet. So very good thing, great, And then you go down and there's no flood in your house. Oh, another good thing. You move like that. And when you keep recognizing that, then what happens is naturally we invite more happenings in our own mind in life. Anyway, it's all happenings. Just that we artificially sometimes think, I did it. Because of it happened. But then again, when you do that, then you see, oh, it's happening. It's happening. How is this happening? I don't know. Meera somewhere decided, take my chariot to the middle. And she said, Didi, you should come to our center, because I was going to Sacramento for a blessing course. Okay, Meera, I'll come. I had come here just like after COVID, we did little Guru Puja together here. And so I said, yeah, okay, we could come. What could we do? We could have satsang. No, it'll be too small. Okay, forget about satsang. Like this, the story kept going, and suddenly we're doing this. And we had a beautiful satsang, because that led to the Mahashivratri satsang. So we are led. It's not because Meera called, because I was going to Sacramento, because someone invited me to the blessing course. Can you see that the cause keeps getting further and further away? That will make you realize who's the cause, nothing, something else. Think what I just said. If Meera says, because I called Didi, this happened, then I have to say, because, Didi had Sacramento course. Oh, I went to blessing course, so this happened. Then they will say, well, I invited Didi, that's this happened. It's endless. And then eventually it's Gurudev has the blessing course and he gave me the gift to teach, then it happened. Do you see? We get locked in, history cannot be looked at 1 or 2 or 3 generations. History means timeless. Then only you're looking at correct history. Otherwise, you're lining things up to say, you need to create a Obama library or something, I don't know. Legend, you know what I'm saying? And then, oh, Bill Clinton did this and so did that. How will it matter to you at all? You'll be gone, Okay, one more person is there online. Thank you for your patience. Please go ahead.
Hi, Didi. Today, oh my God, there's so much inside knowledge, and I'm really, really thankful. I do not have a words to talk, but I will say something. Yesterday, I was my small mind was worrying about my son. It's always happened, like mother always Um, and Guruji on the FaceTime keeps saying that 85% of our worries are made up of our own mind, and it was happening that
Only.
all the time in the Facebook I was seeing this, and I was saying, why Guruji keeps saying that? And all of a sudden it relates my mind that, oh, my worries are made by me. It's nothing concrete. So it looked like that he is helping us before the time, and he is telling us, that a small mind is always create chaos, and you have to have a little big mind to accept it. So
Yeah.
I'm so thankful for Guruji and you. And also, I know it's time consuming, but my sister is a writer, and she writes Ramcharitmanas characters, and she wrote it down in her book, Kekai was right, and all this. So I was very much worried, because I say, why you write all this? Kekai is not right, because maybe that way you are saying Ram is not right. So I kind of fight with her, why you made this book. But now, yesterday, when you were talking about your own perspective, I understand that everybody have their own perspective, and they can be right in their own way.
So I brought the two sisters together, huh?
Yeah, because I kind of say
One less battle in life. Thank you for sharing. Okay, are we good here?
yes, thank
Yes? Okay. Jai Gurudev. Chant with me. Satyam param dhimahi. Satyam param dhimahi. Satyam param dhimahi. Satyam param dhimahi. Satyam param dhimahi.